Hi, welcome to VYAPT Growth Series Season 3, Episode 24. In our growth series today, we have with us Mr. Satendra Singh, CEO of Syrma SGS Technology Limited. Satendra is a global executive with over 3 decades of experience in strategy, operations, supply chain in global multinationals. We'll get to learn more from him as we have him with our questions in our series. Join me to welcome Satendra in VYAPT Growth Series. Namaskar, Satendra. Welcome to VYAPT Growth Series. Nice to have you on our platform.
Thank you, Pankaj, for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here, joining you and the audience in this VYAPT Growth Series. Thank you very much for inviting.
Mr. Singh, you are a name in the industry, which have been, contributing a lot over the years. And we have, some of the curiosities, today to be answered by you. And we are really excited to look forward to have your answers for our curiosities.
It's a pleasure for me. I'll be happy to, share my learnings over the years. Happy to share what we do here in our company. Absolutely.
So here we go with our first curiosity. What growth strategies have been the most effective in establishing a strong foothold in electronics manufacturing industry?
All right. Thank you for this one, Pankaj. It's a very relevant topic and top of the mind for many of us in the industry. Before I get into that, maybe I'll take a few seconds to talk about what we are as a company.
Okay.
So Syrma SGS Technologies Limited is a company which is into electronics manufacturing services, which basically means we make electronics products for our customers. Some of them we just manufacture, some of them we just design, and some of them we design and manufacture for our customers. Typically, you wouldn't see a Syrma SGS brand except for a logo in front of our 15 factories. We have 15 factories around the country, and 14 in the country and one in Germany, in Stuttgart. We have about 9,000 people, and we are dealing with customers in India as well as globally. We are one of the EMS providers who's exporting 25% of our production. We have customers across 20 countries. And we deal with customers from India as well as who's who in the global world. Now, coming back to the question you asked, what strategies have been effective? And I would start with the last word I used, the customer, which is the most important stakeholder in anything. So we, as a company, we were founded 34 years ago almost. On SGS side, and it's a combination of two companies, Syrma and SGS. So if you see the history, so 34 years ago on SGS side, and about give or take about 50 years on the Syrma side. So on either side, when the company was founded, one of the most important things which our founders said was it's all about customers. So they've been so obsessed with the customer from the day one. And this was like I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. Before this customer obsession became a buzzword, they have always done it. They have ensured that if customer needs something to be done, they will do it. What needs to be done. They'll support the customer on what customer needs, when the customer needs, and how good customer needs, which obviously is best in class. So that customer focus has been the most important cornerstone of Syrma SGS. And one of the proofs is some of the customers who were with us in early years, I'm talking about first 1, 2, 3 years, they are still with us. One of them is a very big name in the water purification industry. And we work with them. And we have had great relationship with them. So for us, customer focus is the first thing which has worked very well for us. And I'm not surprised that it worked, because when you take care of the customer takes care of you.
True.
The second element, I think we are very employee focused. So I am relatively new to the company. When I say relatively new, I'm talking about a year and a half. I have known the company for a lot longer. But when I look at the people, I was last time in one of my plants, and a colleague, he introduced another colleague proudly saying that, meet so and so. I wouldn't use the names for now, right, for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of privacy. Meet so and so, and this was the person who was working with us when we started in 1990, and he was the person who was managing the wave soldering process.
Oh, wonderful.
So people have stayed with us very long. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
personal connect.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of talks to everyone openly, as much as we are a manufacturing organization, but we have a lot of personal connect with our employees. So strong stickiness on the customer side, equally strong stickiness on the employee side. Then the third thing which has worked, which we have done, is work with industry leaders in the segment which we work with. So whether it's like we work with multiple segments. So we work with customers in automotive, we work with customers in industrial space, we work with customers in IT, we work with customer in medtech, and so on. So wherever, whichever segment we are present in, we work with the industry leaders. The One of the obvious benefits is the growth leaders are, you have good business with them, you have good possible growth with them. But the way we look at it, and that's slightly different, is about learning together. So we know manufacturing, our customers know manufacturing from their global footprint, from the global manufacturing network, but they know their products as well. Some of them have been much longer than what we have been in existence. So given this scenario, so we have a possibility of learning a lot from our customers. So we take every customer as an opportunity to learn. When a customer is coming and visiting us and telling us, hey, can you do this better? Intuitive reaction would be to defend that, no, we have done, this is the best. But we say, thank you very much, absolutely, let's see what more we can do. So we try to take it as an opportunity to improve, with the continuous improvement mindset. So three things: customer focus, close working with employees, and making sure we align with the industry leaders in the segment, so that we can continue to learn, along with, of course, we continue to grow.
That's a really a different way of actually putting your innovative ideas, as well as the kind of way you serve to your customers in front of the audience. Because you talked about three things: you talked about the customer first, you talked about employee focus, and then you talked about opportunities to improve. Keeping our mindset has to be open to improve with whatever the customer is saying. I think these are some of the important pillars you talked about: the growth, which is helping you to grow and will help you to grow in this decade as well. When we talk around the growth of the industry, you talked about the pillars which have been a part of the industry for so long, obviously serving 900 plus people as an internal customer, and then obviously part of it is growing further. Can you talk around the sustainability of the business as well? Because how do you drive sustainable business growth? And you talked about the people have been sticking to the organization, they have been learning, and they've been growing with the organization. And are there any emerging trends or areas of focus which you foresee driving this growth in years to come for your organization?
Absolutely. First, one small comment, Pankaj. We are a family of 9,000 people. So, all right, it's a large team, which we grew from, a handful of people 34 years ago. So it's a very large team, and the fact that we have grown from very small, a handful of people, 9,000, has been something which is, I would start with saying thanks to every one of my 9,000 people, and for all the hard work which they have done, we have come here. But the fact is that the journey of growth is just beginning.
True.
And the way we look at it, sustainability of the business, I think this is something which is very close to my heart and my mind. Anything which I have been trying to do, and also our company tries to do, is there a value add? Can I do something different so that I'm sustainable over the long term? Sustainability for
Mhm.
me to means continuing the business and improving continuously, whether it's on quality, whether it's on delivery, or whether it's on sheer scale of the business. Now, there are two elements to this. One element I'll talk about is in the context of business as an external side. Other context is the internal side. So starting from external side, I think it's very important for us to know that we are at a juncture wherein manufacturing industry in India is reaping rich dividend out of few, let's say, three factors. So there are three factors which are contributing to a very strong tailwind. First of all, of course, the usual topic which we have talked many years is the demographic dividend. Yes, there is demographic dividend, but there is a very small difference between demographic dividend and demographic liability. The same demography can be a liability if you don't do the right things. Good part is there are a lot of right things happening of late, and that's becoming the really, in true sense, is becoming demographic dividend. The per capita income is slightly above $2,000 as of now, and which is forecasted to grow to almost $4,200 in next 5 years. $2,000 is a point which, if we go by economic history and go by the way many countries have progressed, is the tipping point. And we are exactly at that tipping point wherein the income growth of the people will feed consumption, will feed production, will feed more jobs, and so on and so on. So we are at the tipping point. So to make it simple, there is inherent benefit of being in India that we have this demographic dividend, and there is continuous growth in the economy. Second point is the policies of the government, which is Make in India. I think that's been very prominently being, let's say, pushed over last 10 years. I have been in many discussions with industry and as well as with the government, when government is very clearly focused saying that if we are consuming something here, let's make it here. Let's design it here. So now we are talking about design-led manufacturing. So design it here, make it here, and consume it here. Because we have been consuming a lot of goods, but we have not been designing and manufacturing. So that's a factor number two. The factor number three, which is a question of timing, is geopolitics. So in my previous roles, I have been running worldwide, strategies for some of the large corporations, and I have had very close exposure to some of these geopolitical, sometimes headwinds, sometimes tailwinds. In today's context, the geopolitics is playing in India's favor. To put it simply, many corporations are talking about China plus one strategy. Now that plus one could be India, could be Vietnam, could be Mexico, could be a country in Eastern Europe. For us in India, we need to ensure that China plus one is India. So India is gaining, but that clearly is a strong tailwind which is there. So these are the three external factors in my mind which are playing. Now, using that strong tailwind, we need to do things internally which make sure that we grow faster than the market, or we grow as much as we would like to, and we are sustainable in the long run. There is first factor, which is, I think I partly covered in the previous point, which is about customers. So making sure we have the right customers, which basically means we are learning from them and we are growing with them. There's no better substitute. There's no better formula than finding the right customer, working with them, be humble, and be in the trenches with them. If there is because not every day is a great day. There will be something which will be not going right. When things don't go right, roll up your sleeves and don't defend. Figure out what's not gone right, and come out with twice as strength as you would have without that problem. So I'm a very strong believer of learning continuously. And yes, nobody likes the problems, but in my mind, problem is the biggest opportunity to learn. So have the right customers, have the customers you want to work with. That's what we spend a lot of time on, working with our customers. We've been blessed, fortunate, or I would say the hard work done by the team over last many years and the founders that we have grown to this stage. So beyond that, there is another factor which is internal. Now we got the tailwinds, we got the customers. How do we ensure that we are delivering excellent service to the customers? And I have a formula, I call it 4 words. I call it T and triple S. So T stands for technology. In my operation, when I'm looking at making it world class, because we are not competing with a manufacturer in a particular geography, the competition is with global industry. Our global customers say, look, Mr. Singh, I'm getting this kind of quality, this kind of delivery, this kind of pricing in this factory of mine amongst so many factories I have around the world. I want you to do better than what I have, the best in the world. So we need to be global. We need a global scale, and we need to be global, let's say, quality. So technology is the most important thing. If I start in the four factors, so we got to have the right technology. By technology, I mean not only the equipments on the shop floor. Yes, we've got as Syrma, we got the best in class equipments. If I give you a data point, between 20 year ending financial year 23, which is like March 23 to March 24, we doubled our manufacturing capacity from 3.1 million components per hour to 6.2 million components per hour. In the
Wonderful.
process, in this process, why this data point is important is that half of my capacity has got the new equipments. And when we invest in best in class equipments. So when a customer is coming to have a discussion with us, I have no hesitation in telling them that any product you design, we will make it, because I got the best in class equipments. But that's not just the only thing which I say technology also means the processes and systems which enable everything else around the core manufacturing. So whether it's the usage of SAP HANA, whether it's usage of our specially customized manufacturing execution system, whether usage of many other customized softwares and systems which we have built for our requirement to ensure that we are able to give very high quality to the customer. So technology is first. Second is equally important. Now you have got the technology, as in process softwares, as in tools, as in the equipments. You got to have the skills to use it, skills to use it the way it is intended to be used. Excuse me. So making sure, and as CEO, my job is to make sure that I have the leadership team and I have the engineers and the managers who are prepared for the future, prepared for the world wherein we simply cannot predict what will happen a year or 2 or 3 down the line. But if you are comfortable, if you are agile mentally, you will be able to deal with it. So skill is the second part. And then, of course, we are talking about in the skills, the skill set needed for the shop floor people. So we got to train them. We have lots of training programs to help them, prepare themselves to deliver the best in class products to our customers. Third element is scale. So you got to have the right scale. You can't say that, I'm going to do this much. The fact is, if you have a smaller scale, there are situations wherein you are not able to invest in the technology, not able to invest in the skills, not able to invest in the infrastructure. So you got to build the right scale, which fortunately we are at reasonable scale. I wouldn't say we are large, but we are definitely reasonably big. This year we are looking at a revenue of about 4,500 crores. So which is reasonably, I would say big for us to be able to invest. But we are looking at scaling it to multiple times in next couple of years. And the fourth element is supply chain. So we work very closely with our suppliers to make sure that we are using the best practices which they have. So learning doesn't come just from customers, but also comes from suppliers. So our supply chain team works very closely with the suppliers, brings in the learnings, make sure that we are having a good coherent system wherein we are able to deliver to our customers the products they want. So that's the internal. So there are 3 external tailwinds. We have the customers which we want to work with and we are growing with them. And then we have these 4 internal parameters, as I call it, TSSS: technology, skill, scale, and supply chain. I think once we have done with this combination, I think I have no doubt that we are in a very strong position to deliver what we have set ourselves to deliver.
That's wonderful, coming from you, Mr. Singh. You just talked about the external and internal factors factors consisting of demographic dividend and continuous growth. The other is you talked about ease of doing business and policies of the government, and the third one you talked about China plus one policy, followed by internal, thing which you call TSSS, which is technologies, skill, scale, and supply chain.
Yep.
That's so beautifully explained by you, Mr. Singh. Thank you so much for answering my curiosity. I move forward to the next curiosity. Is primarily, you just talked about the scale of your business. So you just talked about in the last 34 years how the businesses have moved, to the kind of size, the year you talked about touching 4,500 crore plus revenue, and then moving forward as well. So looking at the diverse market you cater to, you talked about 20 plus countries you serve with your products. How crucial do you consider the adaptation or localization of products or services, wherein you talked about 14 factories in India to generate further employment? Because even at this point of time, it's not only India, but across the globe, the countries are looking at a localization kind of stuff so as to increase the employment opportunity, be it direct or indirect employment coming from them. So how is that you are planning to do it in the countries where your presence is there? And are there any specific technological advancements which is significantly contributing to the growth of this particular industry? So second one, I would like you to answer more from the industry perspective, so that it makes more sense, to our viewers here.
Sure. So let me start with the first one, as in like which are the growth areas, which are the new trends in the market, basically. So the way, first of all, a data point, like depending on again different, there are different data points, but the latest data
True.
point I got a month ago is about electronics manufacturing in India will go to 500 billion by 2032. We were earlier talking about 300 billion by 2027, 2028. Now the slight change, and it's basically saying that the trajectory will continue. So there is a huge growth. Now it's the growth will not come from just one sector. It will come from multiple sectors, but there are few which are more than others. We see a lot of excitement around, for example, electric vehicles. So there is a growth around electric vehicles. We are talking about a 22% CAGR over next 8-9 years. It's going to be almost like from 8 billion, it's going to be roughly about 100 plus billion market. Likewise, you look at ambitious energy program of government of India around smart utility. So the metering. There's a program of 250 million electric meters to be installed in next couple of years. And beginning of this year, we were at 8.6 million meters. So that's the room available. Telecom, I wouldn't spend any further time because every one of us is using telecom, and there is a huge growth. And the fact that you and me are sitting at two different locations and still able to get this high quality video and audio speaks for itself that this is a market which has been growing. But there's another market which is in medtech. Medtech is going to grow at 15 to 20% CAGR at least, and from 11 billion now to almost 50 billion in next couple of years. Then there is railways. Railways, as a country, like when I was talking about Make in India, I think there is a big push on transportation, and which is the right thing to do for India as a country, because if we look at history of countries around the world, every country has grown on the back of development of the transportation network. Some countries built interstate highways like US did. Some countries built waterways. Some countries built both. Some countries built also air transport. So sea, surface, and air, all three transportation. And that's where there is a big investment happening in India. So railways is one of them. Now, all these sectors which I mentioned, we are present in every one of them. So we are there in railways, we are there in medtech. In fact, in medtech, we have a design and manufacturing subsidiary as well. which we acquired last year. So we are, and then we are participating obviously in smart utilities. We are participating in e-mobility and so on. So we are very well poised for to participate in the growth. And that's one of the factors of the strategy I was talking about, is to make sure that you are in the right sector and you are with the right set of customers. Now, talking about the technology, let's say breakthrough or technological transformation which are happening, I think there are two which are relevant to us. One of them is automation. Now, automation, sometimes some of us manufacturing guys, I call it us manufacturing because I've been in manufacturing for too long, tend to sometimes say, automation is not for India, it's for Europe, or it's for US, or it's for countries where the labor cost is high. And to that, my logic is very simple. No, automation is not for others, automation is also for us. Only thing is we need to build a different flavor of automation in India. The automation will, it probably is very easy to have a business case if you are in Europe, wherein the labor cost is, let's say, 40 euros per hour or 20 euros per hour, depending on which country in Europe you're talking about, versus a labor cost of a euro or 2 euro per hour in India. But the fact is that if you are going to be building world-class factories, then you got to have selective, and I call it low-cost automation. Doesn't sound very big buzzword, but that's what something which I have been very fond of. Let's selectively automate, because there are cases where it will help us bring consistency in the processes. There are cases where it will help quality. And also, if we do the right amount of automation at the right processes, at the right places, it will help us improve the productivity as well. Thereby, making sure that the low cost arbitrage which countries like India have had for many years doesn't go away. Because talking about one of the previous experiences, we were making a product in India. For that product, there was a cost to manufacture, let's use it as $10, just an example. All right. In a country in Europe, the cost to manufacture the same product was $30. I'm talking about just the cost to manufacture, not the raw material and everything else. When we automated that factory in Europe, the difference came down significantly. Instead of being 3 times, it became much, much lower. It was more like 30 to 40%. So the arbitrage of low cost because of the geography can significantly come down if we are not careful about the low cost automation. We shouldn't automate everything, blindly copy it, but we pick and choose our bets and automate the right processes. The second thing is around AI, which of course is a very, let's say, frequently used word. There is not any corporate presentation of any company in the world for last 5-6 years where AI is not being used. So I'll use the same thing again. And my take on this is, again, typically people would say, AI is for different world. No, in manufacturing also we can use AI. There are many business processes on the, not on the, maybe some on the manufacturing, some on non-manufacturing side as well, wherein you can use AI. And we are doing selective usage. I mean, I wouldn't go into details of that because of competitive reasons, but we are using that. We are using AI in certain of our processes to ensure that we are ready and we are having the right information for us to make the decision and for us to engage with the customer. So we could use it in supply chain. We could use it in some of the processes in the shop floor as well. So these are the two things I would say, which are something which one needs to be very, very watchful of.
Mr. Singh, I think one more question apart from this, I asked the first one, which was to do with the employment generation. You already talked about in the other question, you already talked about the kind of employment, this particular industry is generating. And you also talked about the way it is moving forward. Can you throw some light on the kind of employment getting generated from this industry, not only as a direct employment, but the part of indirect employment, which you covered from the part of technology, but a little more light if you'd like to throw on this particular part.
Oh, absolutely. I think manufacturing is something where there's a lot of employment getting generated. Depending on which data, which industry, it could vary from one industry to another. But typically, the people say that every job we create in a company like us, there are 10 more jobs which are created outside us. And if we go by the different data available, I mean, you look at the manufacturing, which is sub $100 million, hundred sub $100 billion as of today. We are talking about the manufacturing to grow to 500. So you're talking about several tens of millions of people getting employed. So there are different estimates. So I'm not hazarding a guess on that or hazarding to use one data or another. The only one I would say is we have a potential to employ tens of millions of people in electronics manufacturing, which can supply products to India as well as to outside India. So there's a huge potential of employment in this. Important thing is we make sure that we get it right. Important thing is we use this opportunity. And in my view, next decade is the opportunity for India. Like,
So
I heard it somewhere, somebody said in Hindi, कि समय सही है और यही है. So this is the time for us. This is the time for India. This is the time for companies like us and professionals like you and me to leverage our collective knowledge to make sure that we do what is right and to make sure that we create employment for millions of people who come into the employable pool every year in India.
So you talked about electronics industry is one such industry which is going to probably provide jobs to thousands and millions of people, direct and
Absolutely.
and indirect put together in years to come. As you see that the kind of growth which is happening, you just talked about a number which is around $500 billion by 2030.
Yeah.
That's the number you just talked about. So that's a huge thing which is coming up, and thank you for sharing such numbers as well as such positive signals as well as opportunities which is the market throwing for India to actually serve the entire world or to do business globally. From business, I would now like to move to our next round, which we call it as a flip round. In this flip round, the guest becomes host and the host becomes guest. One question coming from you has to be answered by me in 30 seconds time.
All right, here it is. So, how do you ensure that your business stays innovative and relevant in the rapidly changing the market? Because market is changing for us and for you, for every one of us.
That's a very important question, Mr. Singh. One component in our business, in consulting business, is very important, which we call it as R&A, which is the research and analysis part of our business. So irrespective of what kind of work which we are doing, we ensure that our research and analysis wing is always looking around the sectors, what all things are happening in the sectors and what all transitions is happening. Maybe a small innovation in one part of the world can disrupt the entire, the business proposition. And this is something which we also, tell to our clients, primarily in India. Some of the clients who have been doing business lately for the last 50, 60, 70 odd years, 80 odd years, and they have been consistently doing it in a maybe a niche market. It could be small market, and we tell them that it's the time to innovate, because if you don't, then somebody will, and this will cost you not only your customer but your business per se. Okay, so it's very important to be relevant and upfront with the kind of business dynamics the world is changing, and hence we have our research and analysis team to work around it and to ensure it is passed on to the operations team, which works with the clients in terms of the strategy and implementation arenas.
Absolutely. That's the right thing to do. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for this question. And I move on to my next round, which we call it as learning on the go. So, Mr. Singh, you are a person who has risen up the ladder for the last 30 years, and you've worked some fantastic projects, wherever you have been, in some large multinationals, wherever you've served. My question to you is, can you narrate, some of the incidences, or maybe some of the learnings which you've got from your mentors, colleagues, maybe your family, friends, or otherwise, which you think has been of remarkable value in the kind of, ladder which you have actually crossed in the corporate life, or maybe the kind of work which you have done in the last 30 years time?
So, Pankaj, I have been very fortunate that I have worked with some of the finest professionals in my life, and also I have a lot of friends who I can every day learn, and I always find something or other to learn from every person I speak to. There's one thing which is very significant, and I think that was a transformation in a way in my mindset, honestly speaking, amongst many other things, frankly. But I'll specifically talk about one. It's like I'm talking about 99, to be very precise. And till then, I was an engineer. Let's call it this way, core engineer. Everything I'll think engineer because I am an engineer and I will think like an engineer. And my job was to make sure I was the head of quality in a large multinational. I was based in Bangalore, and I'll go by the book. You know, I literally read everything. I work hard along with my team, and everything. My all my decisions were like perfect for quality. Let me say that it's not about me; it's about the mindset. And I had a
Yeah.
boss who was general manager, and he was like, this guy would everything he will convert into something which is relevant to business. Now, quality, if you say I have 10 ppm or 20 ppm or 50 ppm, it's very difficult to link it to business. For him, everything, whatever metrics, when he sat down with me first time for KPIs, he said, Satendra, this is fine, but I want you to tell me where will you impact the business? How can you ensure that there is a impact to the business? So the mindset, and for everything he had a number. For literally everything he had a number. And initially it's like, I'm a quality guy. What have I got to do with the business
Mm.
profitability or cost and so on? I'm quality. I need to make sure my product is the best in the world. That's what I'll
Mm.
work for. And he's like, no, make sure you have a comprehensive view. I worked with him for 3.5 years actually. Um, there were many instances, but shift in my mindset from being just an engineer or a quality professional to a business happened because I worked with this gentleman. So we are still in touch. A very interesting boss to work with. He had lots of, let's say, he had read a lot of things. He had lots of knowledge, but this was one significant thing which he says, okay, link everything you do with the business, and that has stayed with me forever. So now when I talk to my people, when I set up anything, I say, okay, whatever you do has to have some link to the business. And frankly, at that point, I was not thinking about MBOs and those kind of things. Typically you say management by objectives and so on. But he made it so simple for me. He says, make it simple. Kuch bhi kar rahe ho. Tell me what is the impact on the business. How can you increase that impact? Don't tell me how you will improve your PPM. I know that will be done, but tell me the impact and value add to the business. So that was one of the biggest ones for me, and it stayed with me forever. So I can't thank him enough for that. Wherever I get the opportunity, I always remember him, and of course, I met him a couple of months earlier again. I was like, thank you very much for this. It was a major shift for me actually in the mindset. If it was not for him or for this learning, I probably would have continued in my quality profession alone. I would have just not had overall business view. I would have probably been a functional expert so far. So that's the biggest one for me.
That's a wonderful learning, Mr. Singh, and good that you took the courage to share it in front of a lot of audience who are watching you. And one learning, and I have always heard somewhere and probably read somewhere, one learning can impact your lives in so many ways. And today you gave an example about one learning which has
Yep.
impacted in such a, from just being just a person working for one department throughout your life to a person getting transformed and running businesses of in different countries of the world. So I think that's a mega improvement from the kind of thing which you were to what you are today. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for sharing this learning. I'm sure many of us are going to probably utilize it in our day-to-day lives to become the kind of the best version what they would like to have for themselves. And thank you so much for sharing the business purview around the electronics industry and how it is going to cater not only from the growth perspective but also from the innovation, sustainability, and the kind of jobs getting created in India. Thank you so much for being a part of VYAPT Growth Series.
Thank you very much, Pankaj. It was a pleasure talking to you. All the best.
Thank you.